Directors meeting Wednesday, October the 4th, 2023. And I welcome all of you. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Will be posted to our YouTube channel at a later date. I'd like to just quickly turn it over to Judy for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to introduce Jessica King to the board members. Jessica has joined us as the Social Media and Marketing Associate. So Zach is here to help out, but Jessica will be taking over, and we'd just like to welcome Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jessica, from the whole board.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to number 2. Are there any additional agenda items? Yes, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to request that we had a closed agenda item regarding negotiations carried on by the authority.
Okay, so you're moving that, obviously.
Yes.
We have a seconder. Tom? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 4 on the agenda is the LPRCA 199/23 Derek and Joanne Venman hearing. I will now read the motion for this committee to sit as a hearing board. I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors does now sit as a hearing board. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mike and Stu. Any further discussion? Those in favor? That's carried. Dana, can I ask you to take the roll call?
Shelley Ann Bentley has sent her regrets. Dave Ferris, currently here. Doug Brenton,
Present.
Robert Chambers,
Present.
Mike Columbus,
Present.
Thomas Shelley,
Present.
Stu Patterson,
Here.
Chris Van Passen,
Here.
Rainey Weissler,
Here.
Peter Eatman,
Here.
and John Schultman, Chair.
Present.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. So we'll carry on. We are now going to conduct a hearing under section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act in respect of an application by Derek and Joanne Benman for permission to construct an accessory structure at 1028 South Coast Drive, Alderman County. The authority has adopted regulations under section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act, which required the permission of the authority for development within an area regulated by the authority in order to ensure no adverse effect on the control of flooding, erosion, dynamic beaches, or pollution, or conservation of land, or to prevent alteration to a shoreline or watercourse or interface with a wetland. The staff has reviewed this proposed work, and a copy of the staff report has been given to the applicant and the board. The applicant was invited to file material in response to the staff report, a copy which has also been provided to the board. The Conservation Authorities Act, section 28, number 12, provides that permission required under regulation made under clause 1, B, or C shall not be refused or granted, subject to conditions unless the person requesting permission has been given the opportunity to require a hearing before the authority. In holding this hearing, the authority board is to determine whether or not a permit is to be issued with or without conditions. In doing so, we can only consider the application of the form that is before us, the staff report, such evidence as may be given, and the submissions to be made on behalf of the applicant. Only information disclosed prior to the hearing is to be presented at the hearing. The proceedings will be conducted according to the Statutory Powers Procedure Act. Under section 5 of the Canada Evidence Act, a witness may refuse to answer any question on the ground that the answer may tend to criminate the person or may tend to establish her liability to a civil proceeding at the instance of the Crown or of any person. The procedure is in general shall be informal, without the evidence being given under oath or affirmation. As the hearing proceeds, the procedures listed in the hearing procedure summary provided may be relaxed or abbreviated for efficiencies. The authority may ask questions of witnesses for clarification at any time. If the applicant has any question to ask of the hearing board or the authority representative, they must be directed to the chair of the board. Now I'd like to call on Leanne. Please make the introduction and then proceed with your report.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce to the hearing board, Joanna and Derek Benma. They'll be back, our two visitors for the evening. The owners have applied to LPRCA under Ontario Regulation 17806 to construct a non-biddable open walled structure in their rear yard. So on the screen will be a series of information that is also in your board report as well. The subject lands known municipally as 1028 South Coast Drive is located near the intersection of South Coast Drive, Woodlawn Park Lane, and Cheapside Road in the municipality of Haldeman. The image above shows the surrounding lands and the property is shown in yellow, just to give you a visual, a little zoomed out of where the property is located. The subject lands contain an existing vacation home. Throughout 2022 and the beginning of 2023, LPRCA staff worked with the landowners to bring the property into compliance with Ontario Regulation 17806, as the construction of a steel sheet pile wall had begun without a permit from our office. The work included a sheet pile structure at the toe of the bank and terracing of the slope with a concrete block retaining walls. The slope remains over-steepened, therefore the design requires the review of an engineer. That work has now been brought into a compliance. At this location, the property is subject to flooding and erosion hazards from Lake Erie, and the entire property is regulated under Long Point Region Conservation Authority's Ontario Regulation 17806. The limit of the regulated area is shown in red, and as you can, difficult to see, but the entire property is regulated. So the shoreline erosion hazard. So what it is basically the hazard as defined in our regulation. So this includes an area from the furthest offshore extent of the authority's boundary to the furthest landward extent of the aggregate and following distances. So as you can see, Lake Erie, there's a 100-year planning horizon in Ontario. So we have to look at the 100-year erosion allowance, stable slope allowance, and then there's an additional 15-meter allowance on top of that. So that defines the regulated area, and specifically the erosion hazard associated with Lake Erie. So the application, the scope of the proposed work is to construct a new 4.5 meter by 5.5 meter open walled accessory structure. The total area is about 270 square feet. And it's understood from the landowners that the footings have already been poured. So here we have taken a cross section of the slope just to kind of put it on a nice visual for everyone. The blue line represents the slope profile. So this takes into account the work that they've completed on the site with the terracing. And you can see on the bottom right, there's Lake Erie, your terracing going up. I've identified the top and then the stable top of slope. So what the stable top of slope is, the provincial standard is a 3-to-1 is considered stable, which is 3 units horizontal to 1 unit vertical. In 2019, 2020, as part of the Haldeman County Lake Erie Hazard Mapping and Risk Assessment Project, the shoreline in all Haldeman was reviewed, and they broke it into reaches and determined on a site-specific reach if they could reduce that provincial standard from 3-to-1 down to something that is more site-specific. So the information that we have from the consultants that completed this was in this reach, the slope is stable at a 2.3 to 1 slope. So on this image, I have shown where that stable slope line is. And as you can see, the slope as is not stable. And what would be the stable slope extends further back onto the property. This isn't uncommon. I just wanted to kind of show a visual where it falls. So here it's the same image. I have just added on the left-hand side the location of the vacation home. So that's an existing development. I just wanted to give you some reference point of where it is on the property. It is in the black hashed area with an arrow pointing to it saying location of vacation home. And then also the location of the proposed structure, which is subject to the hearing tonight. So as you can see, the structure is set back a little bit from the top of the slope, but it is mostly within the area that we would consider unstable. So we can't allow, our policies do not provide opportunity to construct a building or structure within that area. And the setback that would be required is stable top of bank plus 6 meters. So that's what I tried to show at the top with that, the green portion at the top. So the setback for this is, it's not really feasible in this location because the existing cottage is there. So there really isn't an opportunity for any structures in the rear yard. That's what I'm trying to show with that image. So this, I apologize, it's very difficult to take a picture when you're standing on a slope of a slope. So I tried to get down to the shoreline and show what it looks like. So as you can see here, the work that they've done includes a steel sheet pile wall, platform, concrete block wall, another platform, and another concrete block wall. So that's all shown in that profile we just looked at as well. So that just shows you from the lake kind of what it looks like. The next is the rear yard. So this is just a photo to show everyone what the backyard looks like. You can see there the top of the slope and then also the backside of the cottage as well. Okay. And then here in this area is where they are proposing to install the gazebo. I don't have exactly where it will be represented on this photo, but it's going to be kind of where the conversation set will be in that corner and provide shade to that area. Just another picture, this is looking west. So then I'm trying to give you some perspective of where the top of the bank is in relation to the back of the cottage and where the proposed structure will be located. So here is the proposed structure. It's difficult to see on these plans, but the construction details begin on your agenda package, page 9, if you want to look at those a little bit more in detail. So what we would consider this, it's an open wall accessory building, or what most people refer to as a gazebo. It is made from timber frames. So when reviewing any applications, what we as staff have to go through is look at our policy considerations. So staff utilize our policy document for administering the RAG, and I'm going to speak to relevant portions of the policy and let you know kind of the analysis that we've done for it. So this first one is for existing uses. So existing uses within the Lake Erie erosion hazard, we have some general development requirements, and one of them is that the proposed development is located in an area of least and acceptable risk. So for us, it is located in the area of least risk because the vacation home is there, but staff cannot support it because it's not an area of acceptable risk because it's in that area that the slope is considered unstable. So this next policy section is regarding a setback from the stable top of bank, which includes an erosion hazard component that recognizes the effectiveness, integrity, residual life, design life, and maintainability of existing erosion protection works. So at this location, the stable slope allowance, as I described earlier, is a 2.3 horizontal units to 1 vertical. The stable slope falls 6.1 meters back from the physical top of slope. With the existing shoreline erosion protection in place and the construction of the retaining walls, the slope still remains over steepened. And the minimum criteria to allow for an accessory structure in this area is at 6 meters from the top of the stable slope. No structures or buildings should be allowed in the unstable portion of the slope, as it may affect the overall stability of the slope on the subject land or adjacent land as well. And the overall requirement would be to be 12.1 meters back from the physical top of the bank, which I've outlined. It's not possible just because of the location of the vacation home. Additional policy considerations, and this is specific to non-habitable accessory buildings or structures. There's no feasible alternative outside the Lake Erie erosion hazard. So that is correct. So it means that there is no feasible alternative. The entire property is within the erosion hazard of Lake Erie. The building or structure is no closer to the lake than the existing structure or the existing building or structure and is set back a minimum of 6 meters from the top of the slope. So this is what I was referencing earlier. The proposed structure is not set back. It's located within the portion of the slope that would be unstable and is not set back from the physical. It's set back slightly from the physical top of bank. Another policy consideration is that we want to minimize the size of these structures within the hazard. So we have put on 100 meters square kind of upside limit. This falls within that. It's 25 meters square. And based on these policy, the policy that we have in our policy document for administering this regulation, LPRCA staff cannot recommend approval of the structure as it's located within the unstable portion of the existing slope. And our recommendation is that the LPRCA Board of Directors refuse to grant a development interference with wetlands and alterations to shorelines and watercourses permit for permit application LPRCA 19923, Derek and Joanne Venma, for the following reasons. The construction of a structure within the Lake Erie shoreline unstable slope and erosion hazard along South Coast Drive is contrary to the LPRCA policies for development in an area of the subject lands. These policies have been implemented to reduce or eliminate preventable property damage due to unstable slopes and shoreline erosion. This construction of structure affects the control of erosion and that it increases the potential for damage from slope instability and erosion. The proposal is not unique, therefore, granting an exemption to the policy could be seen as setting precedent. Similar applications may have to be permitted as a consequence. And that is the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Ann. I will now call on the applicant and her agent to speak to the application. Up front here.
Yes.
Mr. Long?
I left it on for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Wow, okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity. You guys hear me? Or Thank you very much, everyone, for the opportunity to come out here tonight and present my case, our case. We brought photos and everything, but apparently we're not allowed to show them because they weren't presented at our cutoff time.
We have most of it in the package here.
Yeah, okay. So, we've worked with Long Point. We had the opportunity to work with Isabel. And we've got, we purchased the house just before COVID, and we've had 3 permits in place. So one is completely closed, because that's the break wall that was attached to the waterway. And we have the metal wall, and we have a 3-tier cement platforms. I think when I think of a slope, I think of this. And when you're dealing with levels, different various levels with 10 feet or 16 feet platforms that are, secured and bound, that I don't see that as a slope that is of any danger or harm. We also had engineered drawings that were required and indicated that that property is completely stable. So that's the closed permit that is already done with. The second permit that we have is construction to be done in the next year with a sunroom that is attached to our building and a deck. So again, if we don't have the opportunity to place a gazebo on this property that is deemed unstable, why do I have a permit that permits me to build a sunroom in that exact area with an existing deck? Right? So that is a little confusing to me.
Well, actually, we're not here ready to talk about a sunroom and deck. We're here to talk about a gazebo.
Gazebo.
That's-
So absolutely.
So let's focus on the gazebo.
Okay, so absolutely, we have the cement platform where we want to put the gazebo. Prior to that cement deck, we had a seasonal little monkey that sat in that exact spot with a hot tub. So if there was any kind of concern or danger, I would imagine the weight of that would exceed the weight of the gazebo that I'm trying to put up there. So I guess there's confusion on my behalf. We absolutely want to work with Lake Point, Long Point, so to try to find a resolution, to try to find a happy medium. It doesn't appear that there is one currently, but that doesn't mean it should stop there on that spot. Actually, Leanne, you went out to our area today to take photos, and did it look unstable? I guess you can't answer that. Don't worry. Okay, we'll let my husband.
Yeah, I can say a few things. So, first of all, I appreciate, everybody's time. I appreciate everybody's, trying to do their due diligence and doing the right thing. I understand the reasons for all the policies in protecting our shoreline erosion. We're pretty average people, and it's not really a vacation home for us. I'm retiring next year. Joanne spends a lot of her time out there. That's gonna be our home. We chose Haldeman to move into, so we could retire there and whatever years we've got left here on this earth. So that's our plan. We've invested a lot of money, trying to do the right thing. We've obviously from the different permits that we're trying to be working with, Long Point, with Leanne and other people. And, we've always tried to do the right thing. Maybe we've messed it up along the way, but we've never tried to circumvent anyone's authority. we always try to follow the rules and play by the rules. I'm glad when I look at Leanne's presentation that I did invest that much money on shoreline erosion. I'm happy that I spent that amount of money, protecting, our investment. And that's hard-earned money that we've done there to protect shoreline erosion. You know, the concrete pads that we put in there, you know, we also designed it so that, with engineers, because we're not engineers. But again, we try to follow along with all the different, you know, policies and procedures. And, you know, it was kind of messy and how we navigated through our way there, but at the end of the day, that got approved and, or compliant. This is about a gazebo. You know, we're in the final stage of this, that feels like a marathon, and we just want to put a gazebo on our investment. That's it, it's a gazebo. Now, maybe it's too big, we're 16 by 18 feet gazebo, but, you know, that's kind of like our final, mile in this marathon. And we're hoping that, you know, I don't know how this gazebo would add to any more erosion or any sort of other, things that are bad. Like we're I think quite good corporate citizens and trying to follow all the rules. I think we're trying to, at the same time, you know, we spent extra money reinforcing it on the side, because we didn't want it to basically erode away. We spent extra money on making sure we were protecting the trees on our property. We have an ash tree, it's probably about 60, 65 years old. And everybody knows here, probably knows, I was preaching the choir here, but you know, the ash trees are an endangered species that we love that tree. Like we spend money every other year injecting it, just trying to preserve it and keep it living longer, because we want, you know, we love that tree. So we know that tree and the other maple next to it, that rooting system helps make it even more stable. So everything that we've tried to do has always been with good intentions, to make sure that we can, you know, stay there obviously as long as we can, and at the same time prevent shoreline erosion and all the other things that we're trying to do. So again, at the end of the day, we're hoping that there can be some sort of path to allowing us to put in this final step, which is really a gazebo at the end of the day. And I understand everybody's trying to do their job and takes their jobs extremely seriously, and thank you for that. You know, at the end of the day, we would like to enjoy our property, and that's where we plan on retiring. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Does the staff or board have any questions for the applicant? Sue?
Thanks, John. Through the chair, I just think it's important. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but just for my colleagues, so nothing was missed. You've answered these questions. I'm just going to ask them again. So you had 3 permits to do this, I don't say break wall and 3-tier concrete terrace. You have 3 approved permits issued by LPRCA.
Okay, so the story, again, the story with this is, what?
It's only one permit relating to that
The
specific.
permit,
Right.
the question is, do we have a pre-approved permit?
Yes.
We thought we did.
Okay.
We were misled by our contractor. He sent us off into some sort of other website. We had a number, so when Long Point contacted us, they looked at it and we gave them the actual registration number. They're like, oh, this is the federal and not I guess provincial. So anyway, we worked through all that, and again, we try to always trying to do the right thing. We're never trying to circumvent anyone's authority or cut any corners. We were misled by our contractor. So once we found that out, we worked for well over a year and a half with Long Point doing the right thing. So we got the permit and we became compliant, and that all got rectified and approved and fixed.
Yeah, and actually, I think Leanne had mentioned in her report that you're in compliance. So
Yeah.
that's great. I also have I know the delegation can't issue any photos that weren't part of the package, but I'm just wondering what leeway there is with the chair. Would any new photographs issued today from staff that were taken today? I have two pictures here that shows the pre-construction and the current construction, which has not been included. So can that be shown to the board members?
Well, according to what I just read, you know.
That was, in all due respect, John, that was through the delegation. I'm asking as a board member that has two pictures here that can be shared.
I would say yes.
Thank you. Joanne, I'm just gonna bring these up to you, and you can tell me if one was prior to renovations and if one is current, and then I'll pass them around the table.
Does the board have any objection to this? Anyone?
Okay, so,
The pre-construction.
so this one is absolutely the pre-construction,
Okay.
where we only had the wooden stairs on, and then the slope. And it was basically just dirt, grass, and some railroad ties.
Okay.
Okay, and then down here were the arbor stone, where they were all starting to shift. It's like over 40 years old,
Well,
right?
that's good.
So pass it around.
Oh, do we pass
You wanna
that?
pass it around?
Yeah, both when you're done.
And this is the same photo that Leanne took, except it's in front of
From the lake,
the lake. So you're standing this right in the middle of the water as opposed to the side, so you could see the multi-tiers.
Scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one last comment, John, and I think it is kind of related. And it's to do with, it's a separate permit, but you had made mention to, we're here to talk about this gazebo, not the sunroom. Unfortunately, it's all related. And the reason I say it's all related, when you read in the report, I believe the setback is 12.1 meters, which in the layman's terms, I'd mean that's almost 40 feet, that's 39 feet, 8 inches. So in order then, if they haven't approved, I know we're talking apples and oranges, but they have a permit to remodel their sunroom, which is actually still within inside that setback, that shouldn't actually be allowed. So I mean, that does to me contribute to, if we're having an issue with, I think the total distance from the railing to the edge of the sunroom is 29 feet. We've got an additional 10 feet, 8 inches. That could probably potentially go into the cottage. I don't know how wide your sunroom is, but I think we have to look at the whole picture. And I think these folks are being reasonable, but I'll leave it at that, and I'll wait for my colleagues if they have any questions.
Yes, Mike.
Yes, the applicant here mentioned that they had an engineer at one time, I guess. Did the engineer offer any comments with respect to this?
We went with the engineer that Long Point recommended to us, and that's who we used.
Okay, and
And-
has he evaluated or she evaluated
Yeah, they gave us
your
engineer
proposal for the
drawings,
gazebo?
and that's how
No.
we came from point. Oh, for the gazebo? No,
Yeah.
that's a
No.
different company.
Oh, it was a different.
So that's a different company. The gazebo is a different company.
Okay, so you did not get an opinion from your engineer
No.
about the
No.
location of this?
No, we were going on the premise that the back bunkie, the hot tub filled with water is actually heavier than what we're proposing in the exact same area.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is the hot tub going to be removed?
The hot tub and the old hot tub and the back bunkie where the gazebo was today is that open area now, but it's not there anymore. So we removed that. There is a hot tub on the other end of the.
Okay, I
the
think
deck.
I saw that in the picture.
Yeah, so it was on where we're proposing to put, again, this gazebo is just basically out our back door, to the right. And, it's maybe 3 or 4 feet away from our house. It's as close to the house we can put.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or, yes, Doug.
Yeah, just looking at this, I want to make sure the issue is the gazebo and the location, right?
The gazebo.
And just looking at it, I call it a pergola, four-posted pergola. It's gazebos have multi-sides. I don't know who.
Gazebo or pavilion, I mean,
Pergola,
pergola,
pergola. Anyways,
just so I don't get sunburned.
the question I have is, the engineer that did all your walls and, area where the gazebo pergola is gonna sit. But the actual pergola is a different engineer that, he's just setting it on that location, am I right?
So yes,
Just the structure.
the footings were pre-done by the first company, because we had planned to put that there, so, I mean, the engineer that is giving us the pavilion, or pergola, that's going there, but the person that did the footings and the concrete and all that, that was the first company.
That was a different engineer.
That was the same engineer that built the structure, the three-tier concrete structure.
Yes,
They're the ones who put the footings in for us. So that's all one piece.
that's right. So,
Yes.
but the kit, it looks like a kit for the pergola or the gazebo, as you call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that's a different engineer, but he's sitting on the point,
So it's a different engineer,
yeah,
but he's given us the specs for the size of the footings. And then we did exactly what they said.
so the location couldn't change and he wants it put in that spot,
I
right?
would have to rip up all the concrete pad that's on top of those footings already.
Thank you.
Peter, you got a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So if I understand correctly, the entire backyard is stamped concrete? Is that what I saw in the picture?
more or less, yeah.
On the top level, it's stamped, and then the rest is poured.
And so then the retaining walls that you constructed prior to this application, then they are poured in place or cement block, or what are they?
The footings,
No.
The walls for the stability of the slope?
Yeah, they're those interlocking blocks
yeah.
that are 2 by 2.
Yeah.
And pulled back with,
Yeah, they're reinforced, there's reinforcement there that met the specs to the engineer that built it, that we worked with from Long Point's, recommendation.
and yes, once the walls are up, there is a cement pad that's been poured.
Further question, Mr. Chair?
Right.
Through you to Leanne, in your experience, have you ever seen a structure like this fail? Or has there been history of any structure like this failing due to erosion hazards?
So I'm trying to think, I have seen slope failures. Not in this area, but I have seen slope failures. Some of the reasoning, well, unfortunately, usually when you see a slope failure, the landowner doesn't go out and figure out why the slope failed. It's usually been in areas where the structures haven't set back enough, or it's been a farm field, or it's been an area where the slope fails, it'll kind of re-correct itself. Ideally, it's good. So when it comes to the issue with this is the weight that they put on the slope. So like in the technical guide, it talks about human activities on slopes. So this is such as filling in structures that are factors that can lead to slope instability. That is what we have to be concerned about.
Any further questions from the board? Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question to our staff. The study showed that stable slope in Haldeman in that area is a 2.3 to 1. And am I safe to assume that that means that's Mother Nature's slope? Without any enhancements or anything, that 2.3 to 1 slope is stable on its own?
Through the chair, when the geotechnical engineers go out and look at a stable slope assessment, when you're just looking at the slope, you're not looking at toe erosion. There's no differentiating between whether it's a natural bare slope or if there's concrete on it. They have to do an analysis kind of, a lot of the times, depending on the slopes, they have to do boreholes. So our technical guide lays out, it's basically a rating chart. So you go to the site, the geotechnical engineer will fill out the rating chart, and at the end, the total score determines what you have to do. And a lot of our watershed, they actually have to do boreholes. And then that shows them the layers of what material is there, whether or not there's fill, clay, sand. It'll show you if there's water coming out of the bank. And then they do modeling associated with that. So the worst case scenario with their modeling is what they determine to be that stable slope in that area. So it doesn't take into account the structure, like if anyone has done structures on the shoreline, because there's still potential for slope instability underneath those because of all the layers of the soil. Does that answer your question?
If you get into Elgin, there's more of that, it's the layer underneath that slides out, everything that goes with it, and Haldeman's a little bit more stable than that, you don't usually have that problem there, and that's probably why they changed from a 3-to-1 slope to a 2.3.
Yes, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For use of the applicants, the sheet pile wall at the base of the slope, how deep is that driven in below water level?
How was that?
How deep?
How deep?
I believe it was driven down to the bedrock over 10 feet.
Any further questions from the board? Yes, Mike.
To the end, the shoreline of this property is already hardened, right? The way I would take it, completely hardened. Is there any concern with neighboring properties that erosion could have be down the road, or is the hardening that's already is already there? So the gazebo has nothing to do with the neighboring properties being threatened. Isn't that the case? Because the shorelines are.
Yeah, so through the chair, there's two different types of shoreline erosion. So you can have erosion from slope stability. So that can be caused by the toe being eaten away from waves or whatnot. So in this case, they have toe protection that protects them from a lot of those waves. So that's kind of the erosion that comes from the lake. You can see in lots of air photos, there's erosion that moves, all the properties eventually get moved in. In a lot of this area, there is shoreline protection. It's not all cohesive. There's mixtures between concrete block walls or sheet piles and that type of stuff. I just wanted to make sure, yeah, there's a difference between kind of wave action that eats away the toe and then a slope failing, not necessarily because of action that's happening with the toe.
Any further questions from the board? Yes, Doug.
Just, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. So the real issue here is that you call it the gazebo where it sits, and if it was put back according to the pictures there, we wouldn't even be sitting here, am I right? Because everything else has been taken care of.
There's no room behind the house to move it any closer to the house. So they've moved the gazebo itself as close to the house as they can, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
but they poured the footings or whatever for it when they did the top, right?
Yes.
But all I'm saying is if it was back further, we wouldn't be sitting here. Am I right? Everything else is taken care of. Am I correct? No?
Go ahead, Leanne.
Everything else was approved or no?
Yes.
Yeah, so through the chair, what we look at is like that minimum setback that I showed you. So
Right.
these areas where, so if they were proposing the gazebo
Yeah.
back behind that area.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be a hearing, but it's just not possible on this site. So
No,
that-
but your other concerns have been addressed with all the walls and the everything. No, you're not happy with that either. They have permits. that are-
I agree, but, sorry, the construction of a wall.
Yeah.
It's not to facilitate being allowed to put development closer.
No, I understand that, but everything else was approved, am I right? They have their permits for that.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
Yes, Duke.
Thanks, John, and through you, just one last question, and maybe it's good if you could speak to this a little bit. When I visited your site, you showed me pictures of when this renovation was happening, and maybe just to help ease concerns about this unstable slope, did I not remember seeing large excavators and equipment on basically each kind of level? Which, I'm not a coastal engineer or civil engineer, but I would think that basically eats away at the slope, and if it can hold an excavator and it can move dirt, that should kind of alleviate the concerns about an excessive slope.
Exactly, like we've got huge multi-ton equipment sitting on the various slopes or walls. And at that point, if this didn't cause it to crumble or anything, like,
But I don't think you can show those because not internet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Too late, thanks.
Too late.
sorry,
Yeah, so
Sorry.
to answer your question, there was heavy machinery used and it held up.
I guess.
Any further questions on the board? Yes, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The stamped concrete, floor that you had, the surface that you have in the backyard there, was there a permit required for that?
We thought it was part of the actual three-tier contract, like the original one. On the permit, it says, three-tier concrete. Reverend.
with, yeah, walls and
So again,
platforms.
we could have put a deck there. We chose not to put a deck there because we'd have to put probably sonic tubes in, and we didn't want to take any chance of damaging the roots. We feel the root system of those large trees and the ash tree we're trying to protect is the reason why we went with a 2x2 by 14-inch footing as opposed to sonic tubes, because we thought if we would have used sonic tubes, we could possibly hit some of the roots and damage the tree, and we didn't want to take any chance of that, so that's why we concrete the top pad. But there was always gonna be a deck there, whether it was a composite deck or a concrete pad.
Leanne, you had your hand up.
So while this was going on, we reviewed the permit and that top concrete was not part of the original permit that was given.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify that.
Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just afraid you didn't see staff wanting to input that, so.
Okay, okay, good, thank you. Any further questions on the board? Seeing none. I have a motion for the hearing board to move into deliberation. And the motion is as follows: that the LPRCA hearing board does not enter into a closed session to discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals, example, local planning, appeal tribunal affecting the authority. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Rainey and Mike. Mike, did you?
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. We are now going into closed session. Advise Derek. I'd like to advise Derek and Joanne Denman that the request has been approved.
Thank you very much, everyone.
So I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors is now adjourned from sitting as a hearing board. I have a mover and seconder. Tom and Doug. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? So now we go to the minutes of the.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
So, Dave, is there any pecuniary interest?
Mr. Chairman, pecuniary interest, no, but I would like it, on record that as this was a public hearing, I was late, I did not participate, nor attend the discussions in executive, nor vote on the outcome of the public hearing.
Thank you.
And I would like that on record.
So I have a motion that the minutes of the LPRCA Board of Directors meeting held September the sixth, 2023, be adopted as circulated. Is there any omissions or corrections? Yes, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if we take the motion as amended, because there was one little change in it, really not, or is that the circulated one, the second one around?
Circulated enough.
Okay, and I will move the motion.
Okay, moved by Chris, seconder. Rainey, any further discussion? Those in favor? That's carried. So business arising from the minutes, there's none. Review of committee minutes is none. Correspondence. 24 to 26. Who's going to speak to that? Judy?
Okay, Mr. Chair. So this was circulated to us from the Hamilton CA, and it's basically a motion that they forwarded to the Ontario government. They've circulated to all the conservation authorities. They're also providing it to City of Hamilton Council. And it's related to the provincially significant wetland evaluation system that changed recently. And they did touch on some other points, asking for the government to reconsider some other things that are coming and that have changed, looking for things to be reversed. So it's really just for your information. They asked for it to be presented, like, to be included for the board.
Any questions for Judy about this? Yes, Dave.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. Has Conservation Ontario been circulated as we see, but have they endorsed it? Have they made any comments in regards to this?
I do not have any comments from Conservation Ontario.
Okay, right.
This was Hamilton.
This is just circulation.
There,
information.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. I have a motion that the correspondence outlined in the Board of Directors agenda of October 4th, 2023 be received as information.
Moved.
Moved by David, second by Peter. Those in favor? That's carried. So now we have 19 development application approvals. And Leanne, would you speak to that, please?
Yes. LPRCA staff have approved 19 applications for development since the September Board of Directors meeting. The report summarizes the location and the nature of each application, and there's a map, as always, on page 33 of the agenda package, which provides a visual in our watershed of where these approvals have been granted. This report has been provided for your information, and if there's any questions, I can help answer them.
Any questions for Leanne? Yes, Mike.
Mr. Chair, on the end, I noticed that a lot of them there is no opportunity for conversion into a habitable space in the future. And how do we monitor that? I'm thinking about a boathouse, or do we go down the road and, because some of these do get converted into sleeping quarters and that type of thing.
Through the chair, it is very difficult for us to enforce. Our legislation does not provide us the opportunity. So if we have notice of a violation, or if we hear a report of a violation, if the landowner does not want to let us on their property to take a look at it, we can go through the court system and get a search warrant to go onto the property. However, our legislation does not allow us to go into properties, into buildings. So trying to regulate the use after is very difficult, and we have to rely on the municipality and the zoning bylaw and their building inspectors. So the building inspectors do have the authority to enter into buildings and structures if they need to be. So it's very difficult.
Okay, thank you. I thought that's what was happening.
Any further questions for Leanne? Seeing none. I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors receives a section 28 regulation approved permits report dated October 4th, 2023 as information. Mover and a seconder, please. Tom and Rainey. Any further discussion? Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Then we go to the general manager's report, Judy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the report, I just wanted to point out that we did receive what our charge will be from Conservation Ontario for the 2024 year. It's going up slightly to 31,788, and that's, I think in total for all the CAs, it's right around 1.4 million that they gather to do the work that they do on our behalf. And I also just wanted to highlight some of the, we are working with landowners for 3 erosion control projects in the township of Banff. So I thought the board would find that interesting. And we are able to provide funding to these landowners, and they also, 2 of them are qualifying for the Allen Clean Water Project. So some good work going on there. And Paul has received quite a few applications for our cover crop program, which payments are done next spring after confirmation. So far, we have 897 acres with landowners, and estimating allocation of just under 29,000. So we still have some money there to allocate. So there's still some people sending in applications for that, some farmers. And we are continuing with our water program, doing the sampling. And yeah, there's just lots of activity going on, but those are some things I wanted to highlight.
Any questions for Judy regarding her general manager's report? Any comments? Seeing none, I'll move on. Hang on. That the LPRCA Board of Directors received the general manager report for September 2023 as information. Any further discussion? Mover, Stu, seconder, Chris. Those in favor? That's carried. So the next one, we have the Bacchus Museum Committee member terms. Judy, you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is asking the board to consider extending the terms of appointment for the Bacchus Museum Committee community members for an additional 2 years. We have 3 of the 5 community members expiring this year. And they have indicated they would like to stay on the committee if possible. So this report is just asking the board to extend the term for 2 years, and that would allow them to remain as members of the Bacchus Museum Committee.
Any questions for Judy? Seeing none, I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors extend the terms of appointment to the Bacchus Museum Committee community members for additional 2 years. I need a mover and a seconder, Dave and Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Then we have the fines for the Ontario Regulation 687/21, October 1, 2023 progress report. Judy, you're on again, right?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is just bringing the programs and services inventory. It's an attachment so the board can see the final submission that was sent on October 1st, well, actually sent on the Friday to the MECP, no, sorry, MNRF. And we also require, we're finished with our progress reports under the transition plan, and we also are required by the end of January 2024 to send a final report, and we will do that also. This attached inventory of programs and services will be the structure that we'll be using for the 2024 budget. And also in the report, I just wanted to outline that we still have 5 plans to put together that are mandatory under the regulation. And also we still have our regulation 17806 that Leanne referenced tonight. They have told us that they're looking at doing 1 regulation for all the CAs. So we are waiting for that to come out, and they have indicated possibly in the new year. So once that's released, there'll be some things for the board to consider, and staff will have to update our policies.
Any questions for Judy? Seeing none, I have a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, sorry, Peter.
thank you, through you to Judy. Judy, at the end of all of this, because it sounds like we're getting towards wrapping this up. Have we gained any net benefit at the LPRCA by having done this, all these exercises to come into compliance with provincial regulations? Has the conservation authorities across the province gained any benefit, or has this only been a cost exercise?
Through the chair to Peter, like, for us, it's, for a smaller CA, it's been very difficult because it's added a lot of administrative work for us. Really, this is only my opinion, we haven't really seen any benefit. I'm not sure that was designed to see any benefit, but it is harder for the smaller CAs to do this work when the resources aren't, we don't have as much resources as some of the larger CAs. You know, I know some of the other CAs, they've been able to hire people to just coordinate the meetings with the municipalities and do the regulation work and write things, because they are able to, they have the budget to support that. We're doing the best we can, and the one thing that we are looking at internally right now is, can we achieve those other 5 reports? Internally, we have started on them, and obviously we don't want to put any more costs onto the municipalities, so we are trying to do it the best we can and not incur costs, but we will be looking, because we need to bring someone in to help with that. That will be in the budget for 2024, and we probably look at using some of the reserves that we have to be able to achieve that. So at the end of the day, it is costing us money, that and it's been very time consuming, because it's very hard to keep up on all the changes, and they're still coming, like, not just this, but as you guys know, at municipalities, a lot of changes come there, but all those changes we have to understand too. So there's been a lot of reading and a lot of things to keep up on. So it's been a lot of, they want to eliminate red tape, and they added red tape for us, so.
Any further questions for Judy? Seeing none, I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors receives a report on the status of compliance with Ontario Regulation 6887/21, October 1st, 2023, progress report. A mover and secretary. Rainey and Tom. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Then we have the Victoria Environmental Assessment Update. Leanne, you're going to speak to that?
Yes. Through the chair, so I just wanted to provide you guys an update with the Victoria Class Environmental Assessment project. I know we did visit the dam during the watershed tour. I just want to formally put this in a staff report and update you as to the progress, because the board is involved in this. This, at the end of the day, will be a decision that the board members will have to think about and take all this information into account. So as a refresher, the LPRCA Board of Directors approved hiring matrix solutions at the May 4th meeting. So the purpose of this environmental assessment is to determine the future of Victoria Dam. The environmental assessment will make recommendations as to which activity, if need to repair, decommission, or replace, is more preferable based on a series of evaluation criteria. On page 51 of your agenda package is a list of tasks that have already been completed. And one of them, some of them include collecting of background information, commencement of First Nations and community liaison initiatives, various assessments, including ecological, hydrological, and hydraulic assessments. And most recently, on September 20th, we hosted the first Community Liaison Committee meeting at the Victoria Community Center. Member Van Passen is part of that CLC and was in attendance as well. It's a group of stakeholders from various agencies, committees, or landowners who wish to partake in more extensive public consultation. At this meeting, the members were engaged regarding the findings, and they were able to share historical knowledge of the area and recommend alternatives that are to be investigated by the consultants. On figure one that I pulled from the matrix presentation that they gave at that meeting is a preliminary list of criteria and evaluation that will come into consideration when determining what the preferred alternative for the dam is. So I just wanted you guys to have this information in front of you, and it's a complex process, and I just wanted to keep you guys informed along the way. In the coming months, Matrix Solutions will continue their work and engage with the CLC once more for one more meeting. And then we're also going to host a public information center. So that'll be open to anyone of the public who wishes to come out. And we anticipate the first presentation to the board of directors from the consultants at the January meeting. And in the budget, we also have a presentation with Norfolk County Council shortly thereafter. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah, Leanne, thank you. And I'd like to know more about the committee meeting that you just had recently that Chris was at. How many people came out and what is the sentiment of the discussions today?
So I don't have the formal minutes with me, but basically there was probably 11 members of the public, including staff and consultants. Member Van Passen, you're welcome to jump in if I have a different perspective, but basically what Matrix did is they went over what is a class environmental assessment, because it's different for conservation authorities versus municipality. Going through that process, they went through all of the background information that they have collected. And it was just a very formal but informal. People were encouraged to ask questions throughout the process. If they wanted clarification, if they had anything to add. A lot of these people who are around the table are from Victoria. They've lived there all their life and they had a lot of information to add. So it was a very open discussion. This is the process, this is what we're looking at. And Matrix came up with a few solutions. And these members were encouraged to say, hey, maybe this one, but maybe change it a little bit. They were all sent home with a comprehensive questionnaire that they were able to sit back and reflect. If they didn't think about it that evening, they were able to scan it, mail it in, drop it off at our office, or email it in. So it really just went through the whole process, what they've done so far and where we're going in this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could add, Mr. Chairman, that was a meeting of the liaison committee. There was 20 people there between staff and the members of the committee, so it wasn't a public meeting yet. They'll be scheduling another meeting of that committee early in November, and then a public meeting later in November sometime, which I expect will get a few more of the local residents out to that full public meeting, but this was just for the committee itself.
Thank you. Any further questions for Leanne? Okay, I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors receive the Victoria Environmental Assessment Update as information. A mover and a seconder. Rainey and Peter. Any further discussion? So, yes.
I just have to add just two little statistics that stuck in my head from that meeting. That Youngs Creek below the dam is one of the best cold water streams, trout streams in Ontario. And above the dam, the reservoir is 66,000 cubic meters and over 44,000 cubic meters of that are silt. Somehow we gotta keep that silt from going into that cold water stream.
I think Tom Haskett had quite a discussion about that at our bus tour. Yes, Marianne.
If I may just add, that was one of the big, this is a big complexity of the project is that sediment. And through all this, if whatever the choice is, if we have to deal with that sediment, that will be removed. we can't just let it go downstream. It's just not an option. I guess I wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
We can't just let it go down.
So I have a mover and a second here. Is there any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? Thank you. I'm gonna call a 5-minute washroom break before we go into closed session. That's the last item on our agenda, which is the added item. And that will be next as soon as we come back from our break. I have a motion that the LPRCA Board of Directors is now entering into closed session to discuss the position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the authority. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Chris, Henry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? Okay. So we are at the last item on the agenda. I have a motion. The LPRCA Board of Directors does now adjourn. No. So next meeting, November the 1st, 2023, 6:30 PM Board of Directors, November the 8th, 2023, 9:30 AM budget meeting. So having said that, this meeting is now adjourned.